Folks, June is going to be a big month for Victoria 3. Sphere of Influence is going to be released on the 24th of June and it is going to be the first major expansion for the game. The update that comes with it has a ton of content, some of which I have covered here already on the channel. Going forward, I will be going over everything that you need to know in a series of short videos just like this one, so make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss anything. In this video, we will be discussing a major topic that I actually like a lot more than I thought I would: political lobbies. However, before we can get to the meat of this topic, let's first discuss that this DLC is actually coming out quite a bit later than originally expected. The DLC was meant to be released on the 6th of May, but was later delayed all the way to the 24th of June. With a delay of almost 2 months, I think that I speak for all of us when I say, good. Victoria 3 has had a troubled history with its releases, as you will know if you've been playing the game for a while. Oftentimes, patches would require several hotfixes so that they would work properly. The decision to delay Sphere of Influence was one that can only be good, as it gives the team more time to fix bugs and polish new content. While I do have some concerns about certain mechanics, most prominently about the central feature of this update, the power blocks, it is fair to say that the update itself is huge, and with that deserves and requires a lot of attention by the devs. The devs themselves are essentially also saying that they will not be implementing anything beyond their original scope, despite the delay. Instead, they will be spending the delay purely polishing up the content already in the update. We will see in what state the update releases eventually at the end of June, but let's hope that this is the one that can break the buggy streak of the game's updates so far. Alright, but with that in mind, let's start talking about political lobbies. Up until this point, there was no direct connection between your foreign politics agenda and what your population thinks about it. While Victoria 2 didn't have much in place here either, jingoism and revanchism are two elements that veterans of the series will still remember and miss dearly in Victoria 3. The new system to tie domestic and foreign agendas together now works through political lobbies. In this case, interest groups will get together with some specific foreign policy agendas in mind. This exists as its own layer, on top of already existing political systems, so also on, for example, the top of parties. Lobbies will always form for a specific reason, such as a diplomatic catalyst, which we'll be talking about later. Once a lobby is formed, it will pursue specific long-term goals that you can then either attempt to achieve or ignore, which risks lowering the approval of the member interest groups significantly. It is also possible that one interest group is a member in several lobbies, as long as the lobbies don't have directly contradictory goals. The industrialists can't be in the pro- and anti-British lobby at the same time, for example. Now in total, there are going to be 4 types of agendas. There are general lobbies for or against a country, and then if you happen to be a subject of another country, there can also be lobbies for or against your overlord, that either want you to remain a loyal subject or pursue independence in full. Interest groups will choose to join lobbies for specific countries for a variety of reasons. They may make their choice based on ideology, more overarching goals, or possibly even because they smell money coming their way if they align themselves with a rich power. A lobby like this will then present you with a list of actions that they like or dislike. Depending on how much your actions align with their lobby goals, the lobby will gain or lose appeasement score, which is then directly changing the approval rating of interest groups inside of the lobby. This means that if the Russian landowners love you because you are incredibly reactionary domestically, they may still turn on you if you decide to become friends with the Ottoman Empire instead of eviscerating it. There are a ton of examples that you can play out in your head to see how foreign and domestic politics will impact each other because of political lobbies. What makes this whole thing even more interesting, however, is that lobbies can actively impact how easy or difficult maintaining relationships with a target country is. The more clout the members of a lobby have, the easier or harder will diplomacy become. For a friendly lobby, AI acceptance for proposals will be increased, and maintaining friendly pacts will come with a lower influence cost, whereas hostile actions will come with a significantly higher cost. If you own the Sphere of Influence DLC, lobbies can also offer opportunities or make demands depending on how much they feel that you have listened to their primary goals. This means that you may be able to get pacts that you otherwise would not have been able to get, or that your rivalry with another country becomes deeper and deeper, as otherwise the lobby members would turn against you in domestic affairs and potentially cause a civil war. Personally, I hope that these elements in particular are actually quite a common occurrence, as they essentially act as mini-missions, much like they existed in other games like EU3, early EU4, or for example Imperator Rome. What I like about this idea is that it pushes me into a particular direction that I normally would have never taken. Why turn an ally into an enemy or vice versa? Unless you have a lobby, unless you have an incentive to do it. This means that my playstyle and that my consideration of the world in Victoria 3 will be a lot more multi-layered, which can really only be good. Now, what is really interesting about lobbies is not just that it will influence your own decision-making, as well as that of the AI, but can also be used as a tool to shore up support for your nation in a different country. Countries can actively fund lobbies. The money spent on this endeavor will go to the population of the country as literal bribes. Obviously, you are mostly only bribing the people that are actually in charge of the country, but yeah, you are funding them directly. If you take this action and a lobby does not yet exist in the country you're targeting, there will now be a weekly chance for a friendly lobby to be created in the country. This lobby, once founded, will be friendly to you and make it so that the country you have just started to bribe will be more and more disadvantaged should they keep going against you. If such a lobby already exists and you are taking this action, the interest groups inside of the lobby will gain greater favor with the local population, which in turn means more interest group clout and, of course, more pressure that originates from the lobby itself. Now, this action is really interesting to me as well. I think that it should change how we can see diplomacy, as I can now actually turn somebody that might be hostile to me into a friend going forward. The one big question that I have, will there be limitations? Can I essentially reject the lobbying efforts of a different country? Because if I can't, well, maybe this would make for a good law. Is foreign financing allowed, yes or no? Either way, being able to make it so that, well, you are looking at a long-term ally and you can much more directly impact whether they will keep moving towards you or not, I think that is a really good thing that this game has definitely been missing. Right now, all you can do is improve the relationship as well as bankrolling the country itself, but of course that isn't directly synonymous to making sure that that country stays on a positive route towards your country. Alright, but let's sum it up. When the lobby feature was initially announced, the interface honestly looked pretty bad, and I was a bit quick to dismiss it as a mere gimmick with likely lackluster integration. I kind of here am thinking of petitions. I can't really say that I like them. I can't really say that I like coups either. Most of them are really executed just through the journal entry, and for a long time, I didn't even understand that, for example, their government had been petitioned. This has since been changed, but the mechanics still, I think, need some love. Now, when it comes to lobbies, I have to admit that I judged that one a bit too early. With how they work here, I hope to have lobbies as often as possible active in my country, as some light impulses stemming from my population should make my foreign politics planning a lot more interesting. Now, it also does have to be mentioned that this actually does impact the way the AI decides to do things as well, which is great news in general. I have complained about AI behavior for as long as the game has been out. It is often too timid, and when it is active, it is far too opaque for most players to really understand what is actually going on. Fostering friendly lobbies, giving into hostile lobbies, and leveraging their power for otherwise unattainable actions, while the AI actually takes all of that into account as well, sounds really great. What has been pointed out as well, however, is that agitators currently play no role for lobby formation, which honestly is kind of sad, but would really only be the cherry on top here, as these are not mechanics focused around personalities, but rather countries and interest groups. The last thing of interest here is that this system could potentially be used going forward for stuff like nationalism, which, yeah, I can definitely see. It doesn't really work via any kind of political movement, and it doesn't really work via parties. So, working with the help of nationalism and lobbies that are domestic in nature rather than foreign would be a good idea there as well. So, with that being said, lobbies are something that I am really looking forward to. Let's hope that the integration is indeed as good as it seems. Let me know in the comments what you think about them, whether you have any concerns or whether you are just as happy as I am. Because this is everything that we have about lobbies. The next video about Victoria 3 will cover the topic of diplomatic catalysts and how it will, hopefully, make it way more clear why the AI is doing what it is doing, while making the AI more active as well. Make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss my coverage of Victoria 3 and other games going forward. But with that, I will see you later, alligator.